Ladies and gentlemen, I woke up today and I said, this is emergent and very urgent. And today, we are going to be talking about the current Civ tier list. In my opinion, of course. Now, I do want to do a disclaimer straight up. Just right now, I want to do a disclaimer. This Civ tier list is not meant for gold players. This Civ tier list is for high-level gameplay, in my opinion. No gold players were harmed in making this video. And no, this Civ tier list is not the reason you're losing. You're losing because you probably suck at the game. But that's okay, you can improve. And then you get better. That being said, let us get into it. We're gonna start with a classic. We're gonna start with a classic right now. No, we're gonna keep Byzantine until the end. English S tier. Now, there has been a patch last month, which was not... It was a balanced patch, but it was not like a crazy big patch. We do have an upcoming patch in about 3 weeks from now. We will have another patch, and then I will make another tier list for that one. But English has not received, if I remember correctly, any changes in the last one. And it's still a very good Civ. King, or did they nerf the king in the last one? It's still a very good Civ. It's still very strong. It doesn't really have any like terrible weaknesses. It's overall good Civ. Works in water, works in land. What more do you want? Now, one thing to note is a lot of the things might change in the future patch, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So the Civ tier list, probably the next patch is going to be a lot different because a lot of things are getting like massively changed. The next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Delhi. I think Delhi is just a solid A tier. I think it's been A tier for a while. And recently they buffed Dome of Faith to produce scholars cheaper. Delhi playstyle changed a little bit where Tower of Victory is actually not the most popular one anymore. It's Dome of Faith, I feel like, again. So the thought process with that is, in the recent patch, they also changed professional scouts, and they also buffed Delhi quite a bit. They buffed the elephants, now do splash damage. They buffed like some of the House of Learning upgrades. And you used to play Delhi like full feudal aggro with Tower of Victory and archers. And you can still do that. Gazi Raiders received like a 5 health nerf. So you can still do that, but the style that's been more popular is Dome of Faith, and then you add a second mill, and you go for pro scouts. But you only go like 3 scouts or something, and then you just use Gazi Raiders to pressure, you make some archers, some spearmen, whatever you need, and then you age up. So basically, usually the weakness of Delhi is when you age up to castle, your upgrades are very slow because you have like 3-4 scholars maybe, because they're 130 gold. Well, with Dome, they're a lot cheaper, so you usually have around 8 to 10 scholars getting to castle, or maybe even sometimes more, depending how the game went. And then, not only you can pick up all 5 relics, but you also have 5 scholars, you know, either in Dome of Faith, or you can use it in barracks or archer range to upgrade your stuff faster. So you can kind of transition out of feudal a lot faster. You do lose out on 20% attack speed from Tower of Victory, but the meta in the army has also shifted a little bit. I think the what's become a lot more popular is the elephants, the melee elephants specifically. They're very strong, and because you're kind of going elephants and you're going knights and Gazi Raiders, you're going some infantry, but the infantry I feel like is not the carry part of the army anymore. So I think Dome is pretty cool to play, and also if you reach Imperial, you will usually also have like 20 plus scholars instead of like 5 to 10 if you go Tower of Victory, because again, scholars are pretty expensive. So it did receive a few buffs, and pro scouts being easy to use is very good for Delhi, but I wouldn't quite put it in S tier, even though it's very good. The next civ we'll be talking about is a civilization that has received, I'ma just put it bluntly, a kick in the nuts. Like a massive just you know what I mean? Just a pow in the nuts. And that is Rus. And I might even put it more down. But I actually think Rus is B tier. Rus got changed. I'm not going to use the word nerfed, because it wasn't necessarily nerfed. I think the Rus is just changed. It works different. And funnily enough, Rus bounty system is better for late game, but it's worse for early game. So at a high level, no one's really playing Rus anymore. A bunch of people tried it, and no one's really picking at like, ooh, I'm gonna pick Rus, and you're like, oh no, I'm playing against Rus. Rus has been slowed down severely. So this is the reason why. They received multiple nerfs / changes. So first thing is Kremlin got nerfed. The Kremlins, the way they work is different. They lose HP over time, which is not that massive, but it is a nerf. The way the bounty system work is a change that impacted quite a bit of things. So number one thing, when you're aging up with Rus, you cannot get wheelbarrow anymore unless you mine gold, which you don't want to mine gold. So Rus no longer gets like the, free wheelbarrow basically that you used to get all the time in like the last patch. So that's number one. Even though you get more gold after you age up slowly over time, because usually you kill animals before and then that's it, you don't get more gold. Everything arrives a bit later so that your boom or your unit making or whatever is a lot slower. Another thing, and I think this is a very big deal at the top level. So before the other civs, when you played against Rus, they made a scout to deny, the animals, the wolves, the deer, and so on. Now you don't have to do that anymore. So now the only advantage of Rus in Dark Age is they can make a second scout from the hunting cabin to get more sheep, but they do not force the opponent to go second scout anymore. And because of that, Rus is now an even villager count with every other civ, where before, very often the opponent would be one villager down the whole game from the get-go, which impacts the economy quite a bit. Those two things, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but impacted the top level gameplay quite a bit, to where it's very noticeable that Rus is slowed down. It's not a bad civ, but I feel like if you played it against Delhi, or if you played it even against French or whatever else, the tempo that you're playing is just a lot slower, even though later on you're a lot better. And then water is trash now. What did they change about water? They increased the production speed of fishing ship, right, for Rus? Which, yeah, that doesn't make it good there either. So I think it's a B tier for now. I've been trying some fast castle horse archer builds, but they just don't feel that good. And yeah, on water maps, you don't get enough gold to age up because you don't get gold from fishing, right? So you need to actually gather sheep in order to get gold for age up, so you gotta mine gold. So, yeah. B tier for now. It might change in the future. Maybe people gotta adapt and stuff like that, but I would say right now I'm gonna put it into the B tier. Delhi and Rus I talked quite a bit about because they received quite a bit of changes. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be OTD. I'm gonna put OTD in C tier. I actually don't think OTD is that bad anymore. I think it still has some issues. And in the upcoming patch, the chapel is getting nerfed and the emplacements are getting nerfed. But I feel like the most recent patch where they put 1 second faster villager production, again, it might not seem like a lot, but when you have faster economy from the get-go, it becomes a lot better, right? I don't know if that's quite enough to make OTD viable and good and everything. And this might change, because this is a change that changes the economy, so people might need time to get used to it, but I'm going to give it a C tier. I think I put it in D tier for past, I don't know how long, but I think it's good. It might even go up a little bit more. We'll see. Not many players are actually playing OTD, and I should maybe put more time into it, but there it is. One thing to note, the reason I haven't made this Civ tier list a bit earlier is because you guys know I've played AOM for 2 weeks, so I am still like catching up to the changes and so on and so forth. The next civ I'll be talking about is going to be Japanese. I'm just gonna put it in C tier. I think Japanese in competitive is not good. I think maybe it's B tier, maybe it's C tier. The problem is the same problem the Japanese have had for a while. Is there's like one viable build, which is Russian Castle, but at this point it's so obvious that you're gonna be Russian Castle that it's very predictable. Like there's no like, oh my god, he went 2TC with Japanese, or oh, he's fighting in feudal. It's like, it's always the same thing. And even OTD is more diverse than that. So they did buff the daimyo, so it's cheaper. To be fair, I haven't gotten to testing it around too much. Maybe it's B tier, but most likely still C tier, because I cannot put it next to Rus. That just feels a little bit wrong. Now, 2 new civs that, again, I've had some time testing it, but I actually found them to be quite good, and I think I'm gonna throw them out there. But I actually think the recent change that they made to French and JD make them into B tier, and I'm gonna explain why. So one of the changes that they made for both JD and French is your traders from Cock take 15 seconds to create, not 30. It used to be 30. Now it's 15 seconds. Now, that is massive, okay? Because the impact of the trade, whatever trade you're going with, doesn't matter what civ you are, the impact of the trade usually takes a bit to hit, even Mongol trade. Even if you go the trade landmark with Mongol, by the time you finish the landmark, you gotta unpack it, you gotta move it, and then the trader needs to come out. It's a process. With French and JD, the production speed of the first 6 traders, is it 6? 3? Yeah, 6 eco upgrades because you don't get pro scouts. You get them 15 seconds each. So your economy like starts going quite a lot faster than it used to. So basically before, you would need, what, 240 seconds? No, 180? 6 times, yeah, 180. You needed 3 minutes to pump out 6 traders from the free cock, right? Now it's half. Now in 90 seconds, you can get them out. And not only they do the first trade, but they also do another trade when they're going on the way back. And you can also start producing traders a lot faster as well, if that's what you want. So I haven't gone School of Cavalry once since the patch, because I feel like even if you want to be aggressive with French, it's better to get the upgrades, get the 6 traders for free, and then just make stables and be aggressive, right? Because then you should look at it this way. You're starting feudal by, you just are slowly getting 6 traders, right? And you can still be aggro in feudal, and you're producing villagers faster. So you actually build up your economy very quickly, and not only you are ahead, but you're getting further ahead because your TC is producing villagers faster. I think it's quite good. I've played it earlier against English, and I feel like it's very hard to stop the trade because you're not committing to, like, you know, let's say Malian trade. You're not committing to like a market and then like walls and then whatever else. You're just making knights, and you can defend your trade with knights very, very easily. So, thumbs up. The next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Ayyubid. Ayyubid A tier. I'm not sure where it was last month, but Ayyubid did receive multiple nerfs. Now, Ayyubid also has received multiple buffs, but just because it received buffs, it doesn't mean it moves up to S tier, because what they buffed is their bad wings. So, Ayyubid is now buffed in a way of, maybe there's like different ways to play Ayyubid, but it's not necessarily stronger than it was before. In the way of, like, you know, better units or better eco. There's just more ways to play it, which I think is pretty cool. And you can play it a lot of different ways, to be fair. But I think Ayyubid is pretty good still. It's not S tier. I think the nerfs that they've done to Eco Wing and Military Wing are very, very noticeable. They didn't do those in the last patch. I think they've done them in the one before. So, still pretty good, but not amazing. Next one we're going to be doing is my favorite Civ for a while. I think it's still my favorite. HRE, straight to the S tier, baby. And I will say that most likely, even in the upcoming patch that is happening, HRE and English will be staying S tier. Okay? I don't think that's going to change. HRE economy is really good. They are nerfing Chapel, but even though they're nerfing Chapel, I still think it's gonna be very, 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 very strong. So, same reasons as before. Crazy good feudal, crazy good eco, can rush castle, farms. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be China. I'm like this close to putting China even higher, by the way. Like, I would put China in A+ maybe. China has been played in a very interesting way recently. At the high level, I feel like you just... I'm trying to think, when was the last time I've seen UTC China? People are playing Fast Castle China with Song Dynasty. So what happens is you get Song Dynasty, you're actually producing villagers faster, so you are getting ahead in eco. You have taxes, which is getting ahead in eco, but then you rush castle and you open the knights and you kind of get the map control, and from then on, how the knight harassment goes, you can either continue to harass and boom out of it, like make 2 TC or something and continue, or you can transition to like crossbows and like nested bees and try to kill your opponent. I've also been playing, if I'm playing against like Civ like French with China, I also like to go for the vision landmark. I'm not sure what it's called. Imperial Palace. Because if the opponent is playing a Civ that's going to be on different hunts and different food sources, I think it's great to go Imperial Palace if you're going Knights. Because then you can see where the villagers are and you can pick them off so much easier. So I think China is in a pretty good spot right now. And I feel like it kind of plays very similar to how Japan is played, except with you know, you're not getting farms, you know, slowly like Japan is, but what you are getting is Barbican and taxes, so you're kind of not really harassable as China in the early game. And Japan often suffers from, like, you know, them diving your tower on gold or just ramming your gold and stuff like that. You can't really do that to China, so yeah, it's kind of like a trade-off, but I think what China has is better. All right, next one is going to be Jushi Legacy. I mean, I would probably put it in one of these. I've been playing Jushi actually quite a bit recently, and I've been rushing castle with it. It's really weird. Maybe I should just add a row above. I would probably put it here. I've been rushing castle with it, and it's like you can start aging up at about 515, 520 to age 3. It's way faster than even HRE age up. And you age up and you get the relics, and I have 5 relics, but I feel like the transition is so weird from then on that you're still behind somehow. It just doesn't feel good. But there are some good things about Jushi Legacy. It's just missing something. I don't know what that is, but there's something coming in the next patch, and that is the Grenadiers are getting buffed so that they're more microable and they look a lot better. So I think just because of the Grenadier stuff, and you can make them in Castle as Jushi Legacy in the next patch, I think they potentially, I think they're definitely going to B tier and they might go to A tier. Grenadiers, for you guys that don't know, are like insane units. They're probably the strongest units in the game, in my opinion. They're crazy good. And they get cavalry attack speed, true. They're crazy good. But the problem is their attack speed animation makes them so you have to kind of like leave them there to do stuff, and they are very expensive. But if you can get a massive Grenadiers, they're gonna be wild. So we'll leave it like this for now. The next Civ is going to be Let's do Malian. I think Malian is just A tier right now. They received a buff actually recently. I don't think it puts them in S tier, but it makes the most awkward part about Malian is when you do a cow boom and then you age up and you're making units, and it feels like you can never find time to make a second TC. But with the recent change for the TC to cost gold instead of stone, it's very easy to plop down a TC in Castle now, which makes it a lot better, in my opinion, a lot easier to play. The next patch that's coming is going to change Malian a lot, and I'm going to be making guides for Malian and a lot of the other civs. But Malian's Farimba is getting changed and buffed to where they're getting basically 3 new units. And they might go up to S tier. We will see. I don't know. Some people said that even though Farimba units are good, that the Fulani is still better. I haven't tested it too much, so we'll have to see. But right now, A tier, and even if, you know, with the changes that are coming in new patch, they're going to be at the very least stay in A tier. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Mongol. Mongol is a hard one. I really want to put Mongol in A tier. I feel like the Mangudai are a lot better now and give you a lot more map control, but I don't know if they're that good. Well, let's do it like this. I can't put them with these civs yet. I think we gotta let Mongol cook a little bit longer. I really like what they've done with Mangudai and the Kunters, and it feels a lot better to play Mongol. It feels like it's a raiding civ now, and you can go Mangudai pretty quickly. You can put pressure a lot more than you can with Keshiks, and you can also follow it up with trade. So I think they're quite decent, but they're not quite A tier yet. But again, we're gonna have some massive changes coming soon, so a lot of things might change. Together with buff to cavalry, which both Mangudai and Keshiks are cavalry. So, you know, we'll see. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be... we're gonna have to reorder here. Ottoman, C tier. I think Ottoman is just too slow. That's it. I think Ottoman is too slow at the pro level. Ottoman is like amazing. If you get to like Imperial and you have your eco set up and you're making bombards and you got Janissaries and Sipahi, bro, it's probably S tier. It's insane. You get free units. It's crazy good. But to get there, it's so slow. Like, their economy is so slow. Even their bonuses, which is military schools, takes so long to set up, to get going. And yeah. Is OTD not too slow too? I don't think it's as slow as Ottoman. I think Ottoman is way slower. OTD, you can force a lot of stuff. OTD, you can do like barracks, men-at-arm rush, and force some stuff there. You can go both chapel and you can go mind work. You can rush castle into knights. Japan is amazing. It got me from Diamond 1 to Gold 3. Well, thank you for sharing your experience. Sounds about right. So yeah, I think the problem with Ottoman is it's just too slow compared to some of these other civs. That's kind of it. Like, I feel like, let's say you're playing Ottoman versus China, right? I'll just give you a random example. China can go castle at like 730 with Song Dynasty. So you're getting ahead in villagers and your castle, and you can be harassed, right? And then you have Ottoman that if they go naked castle, nothing, no production, they can do that at the same time, like 730. So then you're entering castle with both civs, except China is not harassable, and Ottoman is struggling to make buildings, and you don't have military schools, right? So where's your bonus? I feel like the problem with Ottoman is their bonus takes very long to set up, whereas other civs are just getting their bonuses kind of naturally, almost, right? Like, if you're English, if you make farms, you're kind of just naturally, they're just gathering faster, right? If you're a Malian, you're building houses. The only thing you got to put is pit, and you're building houses anyway, so you're getting free gold, right? If you're playing China, well, you're aging up to Song, so you're going to have imperial officials anyway, right? So you get 20% more resources, and you're getting the taxes. It's very easy to do. But if you want to play Ottoman and go military schools, you need to go mine wood and stone, and they're usually far apart. You don't have wheelbarrow with Ottoman early, so the running around is slow. Then you build military school, the value is not immediate, the value comes over time. But if you play at a high level, you don't want to have a unit in 5 minutes, I want to have a unit now. That's the issue with Ottoman. But again, once you get to Imperial, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, yeah. Ottoman is getting a lot of changes, by the way, I do want to say that. And I don't see it staying in C tier in the next patch, because they're getting a new unit, the Horse Archers, and they're getting Vizier points changed / buffed. So I'm assuming it's gonna go at least to C+ or B tier, but we'll have to wait and see. And now we got the last two civilizations. My favorite civilization. B tier. B+. Okay, fine, A tier. Fine, A tier. Okay, S tier. I mean, it's Byzantine, brother. What can I say? Kick W. Like, do I even need to say anything? I've been preaching about this stupid Civ for a while. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And now we have a new entry. A new entry. This civilization has not been this tier, I think, ever, actually. Abbasid. D tier. Kappa. I think Abbasid is so stupid. If you think I was annoyed at Byzantine, this Civ is so dumb with the recent changes. And the only reason you haven't heard me cry earlier about Abbasid is because I was playing Age of Mythology for 2 weeks. It is disgusting. This Civ, let me tell you, last patch, they buffed the Eco Wing. The Eco Wing that was already good, they buffed it further. So what is buffed? Well, you know you produce Abbasid villagers in 32 food each. All these buffs that they've done recently, and I know what the main issue is, why this is happening, is because they double buffed something that maybe didn't need buffing, or maybe together buffed is what the problem is. They have buffed Eco Wing to where it discounts the town center and the reduced cost of wood to all buildings even further, right? So this is what's happening. The Abbasid TC costs 227 stone and like 260 wood? 270 wood, something like that. Which is crazy, right? That's a big discount. 260 wood and 227 from a regular TC that's 350, 300. That's a big discount. Wait, what's the regular TC cost? Is it 400, 350? 400, 350. Okay, now I got my numbers mixed up. So that's a big discount, right? That's a big bonus. Like, if you just look at that, that's a big bonus. Now, on top of that, your houses are cheaper, right? All your eco buildings and fucking houses, all your non-military shit is cheaper. That's a lot of resources that are just out of thin air. You're just getting resources, right? So your villagers are 18 food cheaper on double TC, right? All your wood shit is cheaper. Now watch this. Your Golden Age 1 is 15%. I thought it's 10%. It's 15% on all your gathering. Okay? Think about this. In order to get an upgrade with other civs, you have to get double broadaxe. It buffs up your wood income. Specialized mining pick. It's 15% mining. Horticulture is 15% on sheep and farms. And then you have Abbasid that is getting 15% on everything, and they don't have to do anything for it. Right? The only thing you have to do is make 10 buildings that are cheaper, by the way. And you're like, is that it? It's not it. One of the biggest... So now, I'm just revealing to you the bonuses. Now, I have had games where I played Abbasid, and I played against Abbasid, right? Where the Abbasid doesn't leave their base. If you think English is like annoying or HRE with farms and stuff, Abbasid is a whole another level. Because their farms are now 49 wood. Now, 49 wood, but they have 15% gathering rate on the farms. And you have fast villager production, or sorry, not fast, cheaper villager production. You have faster gathering rate on wood, so you can get farms even faster than any other civ. And another thing that they buff, so Abbasid doesn't need to go on the map. Like, you can legit be on your first berries, put your second TC on wood, go on sheep, and just start making farms. Right? And another thing that they've done is the camels got buffed to where they're cheaper, and they gave them more health. Right? I don't know if that was the last patch, but both of those buffs happened. The camel archers. I didn't realize this because I need to explain like the backstory of Abbasid. So Abbasid's weakness beforehand was you could not sustain yourself by staying in your base and going to TC Eco Wing. You would die, right? You would just straight up die and you would run out of food. So you needed to go out on the map. And then if the opponent fast castles, that's also a weakness of Abbasid because they have men-at-arms or they have the strong knights, and then you don't really have units to deal with them. Like, yeah, camel archers are kind of helping, but they're not that good. Now, because the camel archers are cheaper and they have more health, and you have all this economy, if you go to TC Eco Wing and the opponent rushes castle, even with burger, Abbasid will actually just kill the burger that's coming because they have better economy and they can make more units. And camel archers are, I mean, you can't hit them with men-at-arms. You can just kite, right? So what I didn't even realize until like a few days ago, camel archer, now listen to this. Spearman does like 30 damage per hit on cavalry unit in feudal, okay? Like with the bonus, it does about 30 damage. Camel archer, are you ready for this? It has more health than a horseman. I think it has like, I don't know what the health of camel archer is, but it has more health than a horseman. It's a ranged unit, right? And it deals, be ready for this, 24 damage per hit on a spearman. In feudal age, this is feudal age. We're not talking castle or imperial. In feudal age. For those that don't know, a spearman has 80 health. Like, I think with +1 they do 25 damage. I think they do 12 plus 12. 12 damage plus 12 versus light infantry, like melee infantry. So if you get +1, I think they do 25. So basically the camel archers, assuming the other guy doesn't have +1 armor, they 4-shot a spearman. Let's say they do have +1, that's 5. They 5-shot a spearman. With 5 camels, you can 1-shot spearman in feudal age. Which is, numbers-wise, is crazy amount of stats on a unit. Like, absolutely crazy amount of stats on a unit in feudal age. And they debuff the enemy cavalry. So, the weakness of Abbasid, like I said before, is you run out of food if you go to TC. Your opponent can go fast castle and fuck you up. Now that's not a thing anymore. Because if you go to TC, if the enemy is like full-on pressuring you. I have had games where I was getting tower rushed by Mongol into Keshiks, into archers, and Mongol wasn't even, like, he wasn't trading. He was fully investing into army, right? And I played against a good player. It was against Puppypaw. And he was full aggro. I was literally sitting in my base making farms. And I went out, and not only I killed his army, I literally just killed him right straight away after that. Even though he had boar axes, deer axes, and everything else. And even if he went castle and made men-at-arms, it would not have worked. So this is kind of the issue with Abbasid that I see right now. The things that used to counter it and that used to kind of keep it in check now don't exist anymore. And I was actually discussing this with some high-level players privately, and I was discussing it a few days ago. Marine Lord is in the chat, and Corvidus was in the chat. I can't remember who else was in the chat. Abbasid, as of right now, let me just explain the matchups that it has. So every Civ has like 2-3 bad matchups. It has 3-4 even matchups, and like some favored matchups, right? Abbasid right now has, let's call it an even matchup against English. It loses to HRE. It has an even matchup against Byzantine, and it loses to Delhi. Okay? So Delhi counters it, in my opinion. HRE counters it, and it's even with these two. Every other Civ gets absolutely shit on by Abbasid right now. Like, absolutely, like, not favored. It's like, I played Ottoman against Abbasid, and I'm like, I don't... Now, this is the funny part. And this is why I'm spending so much time on it, because I feel like it's just very ridiculous right now. And I hope it gets nerfed soon. I don't want Abbasid nerfed into the ground. Abbasid wasn't a bad Civ before this. But the problem is Abbasid is staying in their base, doing jack shit, and they're still winning. That's kind of the real issue that's happening. So yeah, I've played a lot of Abbasid, and I've played quite a bit against Abbasid in the past few days to try figure out what's the counter. You know, I try to play Abbasid to see like what is the opponent gonna do that's gonna make me be at a disadvantage or lose. So this is the options that you have playing against Abbasid right now. There's 3 options, right? Very simple. Number 1, you will feudal all in the Abbasid player. That doesn't work unless you're Delhi or HRN. Why doesn't that work? Well, by the time your first unit arrives at the Abbasid base, the TC is already started or done. So if they put the TC on gold or on wood, there's nothing for you to attack. Like, the TC will cover, God forbid their gold is next to the wood, then they make a TC on the gold and wood, and then you might as well, you're just waiting there. And they're making farms. And then they immediately make units. So, feudal aggression, again, before, Abbasid usually needed to go military wing because they needed to push away whatever was coming and yada yada. But because the discounts are now so high, they can get a lot faster. So if you do feudal pressure, what you're actually playing is you're paying 50 food for villager, they're paying 64 for 2 villagers at the time. So they will outboom you incredibly fast to the point where they will overwhelm you with units. Like, they will counter push you and kill you, right? At like 10 to 12, 13 minutes, whatever. And you're super all in. Like, if you don't do severe damage or kill a TC, you're dead. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is castle rushing. This does not work. I have tried it. I have done like full relic gathering into knights, into 2 TC, and I have died right after. Why? Because if you go man-at-arms spam, again, you don't kill them. The spearman camel archer will kill you because they have better eco. So even though their units are worse, you can never hit a camel archer, and then your spearman will do some tanking and some poking, and they're fine. Meanwhile, their economy is going through the roof. If you're going fast castle into knights, they just make spearman camel archer. So spearman camel archer kills everything that you can make in castle. So that doesn't work. And then the third option is going second TC as well, which is actually the worst option to do. Why is it the worst option? Well, I've had a game today where I played against an Ottoman, and he went 2 TC, and I went 2 TC. But then I saw he's going 2 TC, so I went 4 TC. And you know what happened? I killed him about 7 minutes later. And I was Imperial, and I had farms. And I was, like, I think it wasn't 7 minutes later. It was like 14 or 15 minutes. He hit castle. Shortly after I was going Imperial. I was Captain Army. I had all the upgrades. And I had like 40, 50 farm transition. Because of the cheaper TCs and the cheaper villagers, you cannot go TC for TC against Abbasid. So example, I go 2TC, whatever. Civ goes to, let's say China. China is a very good boom Civ, right? So if I go 2TC, China goes 2TC, Song, I go 3. I go 4 actually. If China goes 3rd TC, China will actually die very quickly. Why is that? Well, I'm producing 4 villagers at a time, right? For 128 food per rotation. China will be producing, let's say out of 3 TC with Song Dynasty, was it 15 or 16 seconds per villager for 150 food. So China will be spending way more resources on the food while I have faster gathering rate. And even though China does have the imperial official to supervise, I have way faster gathering rate. So the problem isn't that the China won't be able to keep up with the villagers. The problem is China's farm transition is way more expensive, which means that I will transition to farms earlier. I also don't need to use villagers aging up. Have that in mind as Abbasid, which is something I didn't even mention, which is a big economic advantage against every Civ. So the problem isn't that China won't be able to keep up. They will keep up, but while I'm spamming units, they will be running out of food, and then they die. Which actually used to be a very even matchup about 6 months ago to a year. This matchup used to be very even. Both Civs can boom. China was kind of like, I got better siege. Abbasid is like, I can make more units. So it was very, you know, there. It does not work like that anymore. And the part that kind of is annoying about Abbasid is because their villagers are cheaper, it does not matter how many fucking villagers you kill. Because if you're trading units for villagers, it's not worth it at all. Because they cost 32 food and they are on 2, 3, or 4 TCs. Once you get to Imperial, then they have villagers with 150 health with that upgrade, the new upgrade from the economy wing. So then you can't even raid them anymore. So, yeah. I think there's too many good things happening for Abbasid right now. And all these buffs, by the way, would be fine if there was an entry point in there. You know what I mean? Like, if there was an entry point for you to do something, that would be fine. So, before, Abbasid weakness was feudal, right? You play against Abbasid, you do feudal aggression, you slow down the, eco, yada yada, and you're fine. Now you cannot do that anymore. And then the boom is just fucking insane. So there's a lot of, so people ask me like, what would you change? There's a lot of things you could change about Abbasid. First thing I would change is nerf the golden age. I would nerf it to probably 5%. 15% on mining, wood, and food gathering is batshit insane. Batshit insane. Just think about it. It's insane. So I would nerf that to 5%, or you can make it so that golden age is not the first but second golden age where you need 20 or 25%. You can move that to golden age 3. You can move it to golden age 1. It can say golden age 1 but to require more buildings, like something, right? I also think there's something interesting. I have an interesting thought. I think that Abbasid villagers should have 50 health. But I think that if you get fresh foodstuffs, your villager HP should be reduced. Think about it. Imagine if the Abbasid villager had less HP. You can mass produce them, right? It's very hard to kill them. What if, once you get fresh foodstuffs, your villager HP goes to 30 health? Now, not only you can harass them, you can fucking butcher their villager line. And they can also replace it very quickly. It's called fresh foodstuffs, not rotten starvation. Well, I'm not talking about this from lore point of view. I'm just, Why did you put Japan on D? They're my favorite. Oh, I didn't know they were your favorite. S tier. Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah. I think that's the issue with Abbasid. It's the fact that there's no downsides, there's no weaknesses right now, and there's no points of entry. What do you notice about the S tier civs? What do they have in common, Twitch chat and YouTube gamers? Yep, it's farms. If you look very carefully, you don't even have to look very carefully, just look at it. The S tier civs are the civs that don't need to move out of their base. And it turns out, if you don't move out of your base, and the opponent has to move out of their base, that's not good for the opponent. You know, if I got my villagers all shoved up my ass in my base, right, and I'm fucking chilling, I got TC, I got fucking 2 planks of walls protecting everything, and then the opponent has villagers there, villagers here, villagers there, villagers there, turns out they're very easy to raid and kill. I have been asking devs for a while, please, for God's sake, nerf the fucking farm civs. That's their issue. The longbows are not the problem. The mercenaries are not the problem. The problem is they don't need to move out of their fucking base. They're playing SimCity. Please nerf that. Please. It is, not only it's broken, it is terrible gameplay. It is terrible gameplay. I mean, Malian right now is A tier, but Malian used to be S tier for the same reason. Malian used to be S tier for the same reason. That's it. We're getting a massive siege reworking next patch, which there's a lot of changes, and I haven't really given it a lot of thought which civs are going to be OP, which civs are going to go down, or whatever, yada yada. So we're going to have to take a look at that when the new patch comes. But this is what we're having right now. And this is what's going to be happening for the next 3 weeks until we get a new patch. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want to thank you, brother, for watching. Another disclaimer. Guys, this Civ tier list is for entertainment purposes only, or high-level gameplay. This is not for Gold League, or Platinum, or Diamond, or Silver, or Bronze, or FFA, or Team Games. This Civ tier list is not the reason you're losing or winning. You're losing because you're bad, and you're winning because you're good. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch gamers, we're going to keep going. And I want to remind everyone, no gold gamers were harmed in the making of this video. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.